Hello, friends. Welcome to this Sunday. It is called the Sunday of Divine Mercy. But I will not talk about Divine Mercy. We'll hear about that much later today. I just want to talk about something that came out from the Gospel reading today. I'm not going to give a homily because I'm sure most people out there have given a lot of reflections, different kinds of reflections on today's Gospel. But there is an aspect of that gospel that really touched me about our world today, and that is the event, that the particular act of um, Thomas. Thomas, one of the apostles. According to that narrative, Thomas um, has never had the opportunity to be where Christ appeared since after his resurrection. But he said, listen to his words very well, that unless he sees him and then put his hands in the wounds, he will not believe. Okay, so at this event of today in the gospel narrative, Thomas was there. That is after a week he resurrected. And Jesus appeared among the disciples. And when Jesus appeared, Thomas was there. And he turned to Thomas and said, "Come, put your hands in my wounds." And Thomas touched the wounds of Jesus and exclaimed, "My Lord and my God." And Jesus then replied, "Because you see, you believed. But blessed are those who do not see, but believe." I mean, if I take that a little bit out of the gospel and take it out much far away from the whole idea of Christianity and place it in the context of today, and then I will come back again to how we connect some of these things with both our economic life, political life, social life, and even religious life, Christian life. And of course, whatever you believe in. And you see in this particular event, what Jesus replied, "Blessed are you who do not see but believe." According to some narrative, they said that Thomas became an embodiment of what we call in philosophy empiricism. Empiricism are those who believe in the senses. That's everything we know is just what the sense give us. More than that we cannot say. And of course, some people also took it further to say we cannot even say what our senses see that they are true knowledge, because that manifestation of things does not necessarily mean that we know every part of it. And another part of Thomas is skepticism. Skepticism, unless I see an evidence, I cannot believe. Now, I want you to look at these two particular ideas, empiricism and skepticism. Empiricism had to do with the senses. What our senses give us, the sense of perception, the sense of eyes, the sense of nose, the sense of mouth, the sense of touch. In the case of Thomas, he said, "I will see and I'll touch." So it's about what he saw and what he wanted to touch. Both of them will now prove to him that it is Christ who is truly risen. In our world today, we look for evidence. We want evidence to believe in God. We want evidence to believe somebody. We need evidence to verify whether somebody is saying the truth or whether the person's lying. In the law court, we need evidence. In a digital world, let me ask us this question. How much of what we see today are facts and true? How much of them? In a world where there are a lot of what I call digitalized, manipulated evidences, how do we authoritatively believe that what we see as evidence is true? Let's take this instance. Somebody who just walked in and you saw an accident that happened. There are 10 people that saw this accident happen. If you ask these 10 people what happened, believe me, they are going to give you different narrative of the particular event that they saw. That the accident happened is a matter of fact. But the narrative now, which is going to be the evidence, I want somebody will now say, "I was there when that accident happened. I was there when it happened. I saw what happened." But when this person will be given the narrative, it becomes different from what another person will be narrating the same accident. So you now ask, what is wrong? When some philosophers like Kant will talk about noumenon and phenomenon, that means that appearance can really deceive. Another philosopher, African philosopher we know very much is Asozo. Asozo talked about concealment. Concealment. Although these are being talked about in phenomenological terms or in metaphysical terms, but actually they happen every day of our lives. There is a lot of concealment that we cannot even see the fullness of reality. And when I mean reality, I don't mean ontological reality. I'm not talking about something metaphysical. I'm talking about everyday life, everyday what we live, everyday life that we live. That the things we claim to know, we must ask ourselves twice how much of that is evidential. So sometimes what we think we know might really be deceptive because we, as the container of whatever we are voicing out, we are biased even reporting on what we are reporting. That is why historians, you need to be careful with historians because there is no history without bias. And the narrator will always have an aspect that person is bringing into history. Interpretation, evaluation. So it's not just about narrating what happened. The person who is narrating is also trying to evaluate, trying to interpret some of the context of that history. The same thing is applicable in what we claim to know. Those things we claim to know are not always, we cannot determine the veracity, the truthfulness of what we claim to know. I've seen somebody who said, I know her very well. I said, if you swear on that, you're going to die because we know nothing. We actually have no idea of anything. You see people, you think you know them. You don't know how many times they wake up in the night. You don't even know what they are thinking in their head. You don't know how many times they have to use the toilet. You don't know how much they have eaten. You don't know the pain they are going through. You don't even know their grief. You don't even know, you know nothing, and you claim to know them. Some people will put 1 + 1 and they say it's 2, so they try to, place this and that together and they begin to talk trash, and when I look at such people, I laugh because those things you are adding up is just what is in your head and what you think you can add up to know. Today, in this event, we've come to understand on what part that we believe things because we see evidence. And that is exactly what happened with Thomas. And he exclaimed, but Jesus said, blessed are those who do not see but believe. You know what? You know why that is important? It's important because for those who don't want to believe, there is no evidence. There is no evidence you will give them that will satisfy their curiosity or their skepticism. They believe what they want to believe. They have already made up their mind to believe in a particular thing. So even if you provide evidence for them, they may not even believe you. Secondly, is that for those who already believe, whether they have evidence or not, something in them tells them that that is truth in whatever that is. I'm not talking about even our relationship with God. I'm talking about events that happen every day. In homes, where there is lack of trust, in communities, in different setups where there are a lot of lack of trust, which is fundamental to human relationship. Without trust, there is nothing functions. And people think they know too much. They need to know before they can believe. And you need to know before they can trust. But you ask yourself, that thing which you claim to know, how much of that is even true? How much of that is even fact? So today, I want us to be a little bit skeptic, like Thomas, but also be open to believe, be open to trust. Because the moment you start looking for evidence, I tell you, some of the things you call evidence are all manipulated. Not all, can be manipulated. It can be your own bias. It can be what you really want to see. It can be what you want to hear. It can't just be what you want to touch, not actually what is there. So, as we live our life today, friends, mind how you claim to know because you know nothing. You have no idea of what you're talking about. You have no idea. What you think you know is just a tip of the iceberg of the huge part of that particular thing that you know. There are missing links here and there, if I could quote Asozo. There are missing links here and there. So Be careful when you try to make assertions about people, assertions about events, about assertions of what you see, assertions about what you hear, about assertions about what you touch. Because part of that whole thing you see, you hear, you touch are concealed from you. And you can only say, yeah, to that extent that I know. But you don't make an absolute assertion. So as we go about our activities today, let's be wary of our words about what we claim to know and what we assert to know. May God bless you today and always.